prolifically in technology, politics, rap, soul music. Race in the US. His book, The Day in Rap and Hip Hop History, was released in 2017. There was only a few artists who possess such sophisticated understandings of the music business, entertainment industry, and racial politics in America. These few speakers can command the world just like Chuck D. And very quickly, and this is for you, Chuck, me to you. I don't think you guys realize I would not be the man I am without this person. King, I grew up on your music. I grew up on your unapologetic love for your people, for fighting against racial injustice, and how you use your artistry, King, how you use your artistry to lift up a whole nation. Fight the Power Still Rings is one of the hardest hip hop jams ever. So personally, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Not too many people get me caught up via virtual, but just to introduce you, I love you, King. Keep doing what you're doing. I would not be who I am without you. Chuck D, it's on you, King.
Thank you. I appreciate. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Well, first of all, the virtual thing. We're living in a time where I accept your accolades. I can't see anybody, so I'm going to be playing Stevie Wonder on this. But then again, to bring us up to speed, we're in such a technical twist of a time right now where I feel that we listen a little bit too much with our eyes anyway at this state in time. Just to be able to speak also to the student body and to everybody else, the administrators and everybody else, we're at the most critical time with 11 days to go into the presidential election. And in my 60 years, I've never seen a time like that. At the same time, these gadgets on our hip, these gadgets in front of us, these gadgets that have webbed the world together have kind of made us dependent to the point where we're following instead of knowing how to be able to lead the gamut. And so in this time, we've seen the convergence of citizens turn into netizens seemingly overnight, and especially with the pandemic, whether people want to add a conspiracy theory to it, whether you want to put 5G to it, whether you want to talk about the lack of a certain international health understanding, all those are put into one pot. We are here right now. And now it's a time where we got to figure out what is our future as a collective, what is our future as a people living inside a nation, and pretty much, what do we do in the present? I call this the 21-day period. 11 days to go to election, and then there's 10 days afterwards. Well, we don't know what's in the cracker jack box. You know what I'm saying? Is it a toy or is it a tool? Is it something that's going to be waved against us or something that we rally against? So it's just like staying woke is the whole thing. And in this situation right now, just to be able to address everybody, I'm honored to be here and I'm honored to be able to talk at a critical time. I believe that at the age that I am now, if I don't have something to get up there and speak or teach, then I shouldn't be able to speak. So here we are, the Zoom generation. And citizens have been converged into netizens, whether we like it or not. It's so weird right now is that Prince, the great Prince, told me in 1999, right? He said, we got to learn how to manage these gadgets, because if you don't manage the gadget will master you. And we are at a time right about now, if you look across the United States of America and how it's connected to the world, but disconnected, it's a scary predicament, because the guy, 45, I won't even say his name, the POTUS right now, he got in there in 2016 by playing a 3-card monte game on Middle America. I knew this cat ever since, I was growing up in New York. He was a page 6 type of dude in the New York Post. I take it quite personal because it's the same guy that put out a bounty for the deaths of the Central Park 5 without proof. So with me being an OG from New York, I've seen this character play out. But my brother, Ice Cube, when he came out and basically said what he said, I think what he meant, and I'm not speaking for him, it says, don't let any of these parties pull an okie doke on you. Be alert, stay aware, stay ready, be even more active after the vote. Because even after your person gets up in there, what are you going to do? So I put out a record basically using the recording process to make a statement, to ask one question. Because I know social media is the media that people lock into, not a song, not a movie, not a book. All these things are woven to what's on your hip right now, almost like a dependency. Is it a tool or is it a toy? So my conversations I've had over the last 25 years, speaking to universities, colleges, prisons, sometime when they let me in, and they've chosen not to let me in. And I've done at least 700 since 1991. My topics are rap, race, reality, and technology. Now they're all woven into one, and that's what makes my, my conversations, not lectures, make my conversations relevant to a person that's sitting there listening to a person like me, and what can they get out of it? How can I ask that person the question that they answer themselves? Like Bruce Lee said, I can't teach you a damn thing, but maybe I can help you explore yourself. And so as we go into this 21 days, 11 days to election, and then the 10 days afterwards, are we prepared to actually deal with ourselves as adults? I mean, over 18, they would send you to war. The question, like my good friend Craig Hodges, the great 3-time champion or 4-time champion NBA hero, said, at what point do we become mature? So this is a question to all of us. So where are we at right now? I think what Cube was also talking about, it's like, don't let them pull the flim flam okie doke on you. It's primitive to have two parties and go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a party by the toe. That game is damn near over. And then I also would say that I thought the Democrats were lazy in 2016. And I think this is where all the angst and confusion pop up from, So here we are. I wonder if everybody can still hear me, or can you still see me? You still have my transmission?
Yes, we're good.
Yes, yes.
So here we are talking to a student body who now, and administrators who have now tried to figure out how do they make the adjustment from the citizen world, where you do things in reality, you look at people in the face, you kind of go about accordingly with your physicality in whatever environment that you actually move around in, to a netizen world, which is a swirling universe. Now, to depend on how well you work your gadget or not, you need those gadgets. Here's the biggest problem between understanding how to manage these gadgets and to master them. You won't be able to master. Artificial intelligence ain't going to ever get dumber. It's zooming at unbelievable speeds. You got to hang on to it like a moving crazy horse, okay? The thing is, older folks like myself, I could get a computer, a laptop, get a phone, get an iPad. This is a fantastic thing. I ain't got to run to FedEx no more and get somebody an illustration over to California and wait till they get it, the next day or whatever. Or I ain't got to figure out how something looks to get a design across. And that's in the field that I work in. Or we made a mix. So the person got to get a physical copy of a mix. So you wait 2 days for a delivery service. Some days are gone. This is a beautiful asset to my life because I knew of a time where it did not exist. But let's say somebody that was born in the year 1999 or 2000. That person is a grown person. They're 21, 20 years old. They would have been, they're not the youth. They would have been sent overseas. They would have been sent anywhere else to go fight a war because they were old enough. So let's not use youth as an excuse. So the thing about it, this person has always looked at a gadget as being a toy, because what the hell? If it's 2009, you're 9 years old, you get one of these, you damn right it's a toy. You a kid. Their biggest problem is how to wean it off of being a toy into being more of a tool for their adult life. And the truth is that they're going to be adults longer time in their life than being a child or adolescence. And these gadgets, whether you like it or not, is on everybody's hip from the womb to the tomb. What do we do with it? We could thread movements through them. The reason that the situation that happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd, with the officer having his neck and killing his brother, George Floyd, young energy, and I say younger people, young adults and youth. I don't put them all in the youth pot because they're adults. A lot of them were adults. Over 18, you adult. They said, man, the tipping point is when they're gonna get tired of these pages getting turned. Just turn like, okay, they're like, wait a minute. First, we're told to stay inside a house for 5 weeks. And we don't really know why. Maybe we're told this, whole bunch of, voices talking at the same time. Then this is going to happen again. And we've seen past generations just be able to look at this and say, okay, we got to stop this police brutality. Younger energy said enough. And they marched on their locale all over the world. It started from, damn, man, Black lives don't matter, do they? And people who have been kind of close by these gadgets, even if they don't have a Black friend or not, to something sensible, sensitivities or sensibilities in Black culture says, I get it. They just tied and they said another page is turned with another name to it. And they added Breonna Taylor, and it was Philando Castile in the same area in Minneapolis. Younger energy said, this is bullshit. What the fuck? When is this going to stop? And they marched on their locale, and they didn't know how to actually frame it into any kind of intricate detail of change and reform. They said, this will change today. We taking this statue down of this person who don't mean shit. And they moved on it. And if it didn't have any impact, the current president of the United States, when he was passing out 10-year bids for taking down those type of statues, will tell you that this is not a time for micro differences. It's the side that you happen to be on versus the side that hates you. And that side basically says it hates you because they say Black lives don't matter. So if that's hate, that's on the edge of, not only that's on the edge of fascism, it's the Gestapo, but you're looking at new Nazism, no matter how Buffett you might have seen that debate last night. That's the deal. That's the real deal. And it's a primitive answer to a very complex situation that's been happening for years. But the primitive answer is that the side you on versus the side that hates you. Uppercase, H-A-T-E. But you got to also be open to understand that that side that you're on can't be lazy. Number one, you can't be lazy. You Black, you a male, you 18 years old, laziness is not an option. They were lazy on us. How you push them is going to be the way that you be able to have your head over water. You got things that are attached. You attached to this thing. This thing's attached to what? Break it down. The World Wide Web. How the hell you gonna have one of these things and not be able to figure out how you reform or visit or revisit the importance of the diaspora? If you're a Black male in Montgomery College and you cut off the rest of the world and think you're gonna just make it in Maryland or the lower 48 states of the United States of America because they drew you up a box and you can't think and live outside the box, that's where they want you. I've said this before in previous speeches and other years when we could go around, look people in the eye, shake their hand and give them hugs or whatnot. If you don't break the chain of the United States of America, keeping you in the USA state of mind in the United States, and you cut off the rest of the world, where people that look like you are probably figuring it out or doing something or have been elevated to different education since they were zero, just as survival, you are therefore going to be a slave trying to revolt the United States of America. And it's all a virtual revolt. But if you don't understand that citizens have been transferred in the netizens, and if you make an error in the netizen world, they still make you pay a citizen's price. You make a mistake in the netizen world online, maybe in the World Wide Web, and they probably have figured out how to send your physicality to jail in the prison industrial complex. That's how serious this is. Sending people to the military is even different today, because every stitch of land on the planet Earth is figured out. So where the new real estate came, the real estate was formed before many of y'all were even born. And the real estate was the creation of cyberspace. If we can't figure out how to get more of this world, where are you going to build the world? You're going to build the world within. And that's where cyberspace is. The world is within. It was a created world that people believe even more than their real existences. And that's where the real estate is, because the real estate is the mind. And they figured out a way to get into the real estate of your mind. So you got to think outside the box. And the real estate of your mind, it is a real existence because people believe it's real. And it's not products. People, human beings are the products, because human beings are the ones that form and stitch its reality. That's the world we happen to be in. And that's the world that educators have to teach in. I tell people all the time, yes, my definition, and I thank you, Brian, for the opening ID or bio or whatever. I try to be beyond the bio, meaning what? Who am I? I think also in the next 10, 15 years, people will have to also define, who am I not? You know, can I master my lane? I think people could be anything they want. You could be who you want to be, but let it be known, if you don't train to be what you want to be and who you want to be and learn and really go at it aggressively, then it's better to say what you are not. And your avatar won't save your ass if you can't come up with the goods of saying who you are and you can't do it. So yes, I'm a culturalist. I'm a raptivist because I've taken the art of rap music. I was born and raised as an artist. I've always had a free spirit. I was born in 1960. I consider myself prideful to call myself a Black artist. I've been to 116 countries. I've been in the area of design and also curation, using, music and culture and art. So if somebody just threw rap at me, I could take that, but I could make it also a fertile pot and branches grow out of it to know the things that I can actually teach in. I say this to say that let us not make a joke. Let us not make a game out of scholarship. And the reason I say that is because I think that because people live in an online world of swirl and whatnot, they make a joke out of scholarship and somebody's accomplishment because they could just press delete and just vanish somebody. Or they could just banish culture or banish history. And that is the negative byproduct of the digital space. You can 3-card money and make it go away. A book makes you got to go in the book. You could go to the book on your own timing. You could go into a book and it kind of like flip it upside down and it still stays there. Hard to erase unless you have great big book burning situations like they had in Nazi Germany and other areas of fascism that has been in the immediate past since the printing press. But the digital world, you could pay, like they say in New York City at Delancey Street back in the days, now you see it, now you don't. Figure out which way. Where's the money? Where's the pearl? Under the shell. I got 3 of them. What you gonna do? And boom, you pointing the shells, ain't got nothing under it. You've been played, you've been tricked, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled. like that old school film back in the day. So we've made this transfer into the medicine age. What is it going to do for you as your educator? Don't make fun of scholarship. The reason why you can't make fun out of scholarship is because scholars, especially in history, got to read all the fake shit. They got to read through the lies. You got to read, learn all the lies, and then what they say is the truth or perceived as a truth. Dr. John Hendrik Clark read everything till he was blind. That's why you couldn't challenge him. Every time he would run into people that would challenge him, he would end up pointing to them. He said, yeah, you read what you believe. You read what you wanted to read. That's what most of us are. We read what we want to read. We study what we want to study. And we build on that. Once you run into scholars who really seriously spend their time in scholarship, they spend all their time on the bullshit and probably reduce it to something that they could use in a debate. So people just throwing scholarship or people spending the time really learning how to manifest their talent into a skill can't forsake it, especially as we go into the 2020s of the digital age. So make no light of it. And I don't make no light of it. I spent 4 years, really 6 years in university at Adelphi in design. And make no light of design. If somebody designs a staircase that and one step is off and people busting their fronts on the step, then the first thing that comes to your mind is how fucked up is the design. Everything in this particular society, the design's gotta be right. The design of somebody getting their hair cut in the Black Hood, like in Baltimore, mess up a haircut in Baltimore. The design better be right on their head. So the scholarship of learning anything when it's thorough has to be to some sort of professional perfection. That even goes, yes, ma'am.
Is it okay if we, before we have to move you to the interview room at 1:40, that we can open it up for any questions that the students may have?
Please do, because that even helps me out more. I'm, like I said, I'm moving like Ray Charles in here.
Appreciate
I'm looking at a
it.
black.
No, I'm enjoying it. I could sit here for hours and listen to this. I'm taking good notes too. So students, click participants, raise your hand, and I'll call your call your name in the order that you raise your hand. I just
yes, ma'am. And I'm sorry I can't see everybody face to face. I try to do my Zoom through a Chrome on my laptop. I usually do it through my phone. And so therefore that wasn't conveyed where it's easier on the phone. So like I said, we're going through a lot of this digital terrain where there's a lot of formats juxtaposed against each other and it straighten itself out. So just be aware, be privy. And if I see your name, I'll compliment you and treat it like I'm looking at you face to face. I'm an illustrator anyway, so I have a good imagination. And like I said, we're at a time where people listen with their eyes a little bit too much. If you go to the old school movie Ray, we had Jamie Foxx back in the day playing Ray Charles. He goes in and has the great Ruth Brown inside a bar, and she's getting ready to do a performance, and she's trying to figure out how is he going to do my charts. And they did musical charts back in the day, so he scripted it all out. So how he's going to do it? He's blind. He says, you know, close your eyes. You listening too much with your eyes. Close your eyes, and you can hear all the colors and hear more in detail, you know, than what you see with your eyes. Because when you're using sight and you're using sound and you have your senses, they're all in moving kind of in conflict if you don't understand it, on also an agreement if you do understand it, a whole different science. But when you just listen, you get a whole different understanding. And so this is the time that we're in. Can we listen a little bit more with our minds instead of just with our eyes? But I thank y'all.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna open it up to Daniel Bates. Daniel, what's your question or comment?
Where you from, Daniel? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm from Fort Washington, Maryland, so
Okay,
south of DC. One
nice to
question I
meet you.
had is I'm an aspiring artist and I enjoy doing conscious music.
Yeah.
So, how do I go about finding my place and finding my sound in the industry? Like, how do I go about doing that?
Well, I think number one, Daniel, the industry is everything. There's tools that exist today that didn't exist 20 years ago. The industry was called the industry because they had dominance on all the tools. You couldn't get into a studio unless somebody gave you a purchase order and then you was able to record. To be called a recording artist back in the day, meaning 20 years ago, was a big thing because not everybody had the ability to record. Nowadays, people can record everything in sight, sound, story, and style in a gadget that's attached to everybody's hip. So recording ain't a big deal. So number one, just be able to do what you feel. Follow your gut instinct from your heart and from your mind, from your soul, and make what you want to make. If you're 25 years old, Daniel, and you want to relate to 10-year-olds, well, that's something that you got to figure out for yourself. If you're 25-year-old and you want to speak for your 25-year-old self, that means you know who you are to be able to do whatever music you want to do. If you want to look at music as being something that pays you and something that actually makes a living for you, then it's no different than being at a university. You have to pretty much find ways that you have unremovable skills. The music industry is the music industry. It's bigger than the recording industry, which is 2 or 3 or maybe, all right, let's say 10 positions. Music industry is 100 different positions. If you want to get into it, you should figure out ways to learn everything about it. See, I said an important thing earlier about scholarship, Daniel. Did you get what I said earlier?
Which thing you said earlier? You said a lot of things.
Scholarship is when you have to spend the time studying the areas you don't dig.
Right.
I mean, most of us study what we like, and most of us engage ourselves in what we like. Scholarship to learn what you're going to get into is learning all those areas that you don't want to spend your time at. Are you at university right now? You at Montgomery?
Prince George's.
Prince George. All right. Do you like every single aspect of every single topic that you're covering in your classes?
No, but
Probably not.
I still have to learn it, or else I won't graduate.
Exactly. So you got a lot of things that you probably won't revisit in your future, but you got to get through it to know it. Same thing with the music industry. You have to know all these areas before you jump up in it. And they have books. You can never beat an instruction of YouTube. YouTube is probably the best instruction any artist can have. You get the past, you get the present, and you get the future. Now, the difference is that it's like having a small fishing boat going into an ocean. You got to know what to fish for. So you should figure out what you want to do, where you want to be, and then go to your research tools. And every single artist in some kind of way has been recorded on YouTube with free access. Here's another advice for many of you artists out there. You are not in an audio age only. When I grew up, it was the audio age. Music was what you bought and listened to. That was back in last century. This century, music is sight, sound, story, what your story is about, and your style. Those are the 4 aspects of a musician today, or recording artist. So, saying that in mind, that if you're making a song and you learn how to use your equipment to make the song, you should also make something visual for people to see it. You should also be thorough in who you are and what your story is about and the style that you have that's distinct. Those things will open you up, Daniel. Sorry to be long-winded on that answer, but hopefully that answer will help everybody else understand and say, look, your resources and your tools are there, but you grew up with a gadget, which was a toy, most of your life. Now you try to figure out in your adult life, I want to do music, I want to be in this industry. How do I use this instead of it using me as a consumer. That's something you got to figure out. And that's a study, and that's a subject, and that's a major in itself.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chuck.
you.
Next, we have Trey from Cecil College. Go ahead with your question or comment.
What's up, Trey?
I just want to say you're amazing, man. Like true OG. Like I know I'm young, but like your stuff is absolutely amazing. Like I love your political activism, all that.
Let me ask you a question, Trey. You say you know you're young, right? How old?
Yeah, I'm 20.
How,
just turned 20.
So you're 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you got a younger brother and sister?
I have one sister. Yeah.
She younger?
4 years. Yeah.
She thinks you young?
Not really.
There you go, bro. Youth is not an excuse, man. Everybody's older than somebody and younger. I tell people, I said, you ain't 4. You adult, you 20 years in. You were OG to somebody 10. Never kind of use youth as an excuse. You older than many, younger than a lot. You know what I'm saying? But this is your time. And this is why when you see the presidential debate last night, you got a dude that's 79 and another dude that's 75. You think they're talking to you?
No.
Younger energy has to assume the mantelpiece of leadership. I believe in retirement at 65 if you're in political office. I believe energy leadership is 40 to 65 at the top. The training for leadership is 15 to 35. That's it, man. Everybody, you know, I'm a big fan of, yo, old dude, sit down. Now, music and culture allows us to be in the mix, but as teachers, directors, council, just like the people that's out there marching, that younger energy. So I just wanted to tell you and others about that. Don't use, hey, I'm young. Yeah, you younger than some, but you ain't 4. You older than, you really kind of OG in college. So look at yourself as that being an advantage, not a deficit.
Can I ask you a favor?
Yes, sir.
My boss, he's like major fan of yours. I couldn't get him on the call, but could you just give him a quick shout out? His name's Chip.
What up, Chip? Make sure you take care of Trey.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you for that. I love that. Okay, great.
Well, he gotta like that. Chip gotta like that. Chip might say, I'm not trying to say, you gotta take care of me.
Grayson is on you.
Make sure you take care of Trey. What up, Grayson?
How are you? Yeah, Grayson
What's
from
up?
Swano Dam. How are you?
All right. What's up? Are you from Rotterdam?
No, I'm actually from Baltimore, Maryland, but I'm currently enrolled in school my last year in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. What up, man?
I'm a writer for a publication post called Swano Down, a company called Swano Down. The publication is Critiques by Swano, and we just do song reviews and many other things, but that's what I'm focused on. My question was to you, you said you were an illustrator, right? And yes, I just want to know, back at home, my level of consciousness is kind of contagious on my friends. And they see me sometimes as like a pillar in my local community. My question for you is, how can I effectively illustrate the level of consciousness like we spoke about today to my friends that maybe don't find that as appealing?
That makes sense. It's a step, in my opinion, it's a step-by-step process, Grayson. You're not going to tell your peers that they're not going to change overnight. They're your peers. I think stronger energy is when you happen to teach down. For example, if you're 20-something years old and you spend some time with somebody 10, you know, and I know we're in precarious times, but you can actually, everybody could teach somebody. Teaching your peers is a little bit difficult, especially in this time where people could drift off into their own little worlds, because they'll ask a question like, why should I feel like I learned something from you? So you're at a time really where people are kind of in their own little bubbles, and eventually their bubbles clamor around something that's positive because everybody wants to go forward. They don't want to be stuck and they don't want to be thrown back. So eventually in time, and then time is the hardest thing for younger energy to understand, because time is something that has to be understood over time. You already know, Grayson, you can't share your time with everybody, right? There's some people that are like, man, they're wasting their time while you spending their time. And if you spending your time and they wasting their time and they want to get some of your time to spend your time, then they're wasting your time. So you got to understand that time is something, time is God, man. Time ain't really trying to pay attention to nothing else but time. So to get it, to understand it, to kind of comprehend it in your time takes a time of patience. And younger energy, it's never been young energy to understand patience right away. Younger energy moves like this. Patience usually comes to you. That's why if you watch like some NBA basketball players, some athlete, they said, man, the older I got, I understood the game was in slow motion. It just, my body couldn't respond to it. Well, you in the regular world now, so your body ain't got to move like crazy. Everybody's mind is in a digital space. So your mind could gradually understand the time. There's no rush for it. But it makes it seem like it's in a rush because older people are in a rush because their time is running shorter and shorter. So
Change more gradual than I thought then.
Yeah, it's gradual. Yeah. And then you know what? Hey, you might be able to get people to convince into your web of thought one at a time. You're not gonna get everybody in a cluster. That's a misnomer when people think they could get and flip everybody all like 100,000 at a time. Now that was under the tool of broadcasting. That was under the tool of webcasting when somebody kind of gets on social media and in mind, they think they really got, 5.7 million followers. No, you have 5.7 million people that kind of dig you, that click the button. That means they don't follow you just because they happen to follow your social media. I kind of, think that there's some power in it, but there's a power that could be used properly instead of used to be pimping the masses. And a lot of people, corporations use tricks. You know what they do? They call pimping the masses is moving that M over. Think about it. The masses, they move the M over to them asses.
Thank you, Chuck. With one last question, I'm asked that it's brief, a minute or less, and that's coming from Kenneth Smith.
Right. Chuck, what's up, man?
What's up, Kenneth?
Hey, so I teach high school here in Montgomery County, and I designed a course on hip hop history and culture. It's in its second year. And we do a social justice unit where we study Public Enemy. And last year we had James Baum. He came into the class and he spoke to my kids. They were just blown away by the ethos of PE and also hearing Brother Baum talk. And we had to end the conversation short because school ended. But I want to ask you, so what does hip hop and social justice look like in the future? So if I'm teaching high school kids, they're excited, they want to get involved in that social justice lane through hip hop. What would you suggest, or what's the approach I should take with them to carry them forward, to blend hip hop like you did in the 90s, the 80s and 90s?
I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be the same, Bro Smith. You have to be able to craft new templates and new designs for the future. I think definitions have to be clear in a learning body, because the definitions are not clear when you talk about adults, like police in the United States. Police mean to protect and serve, but property owners. So that should be explained. My dad, who grew up in Harlem, said, well, police knew that it was different. They had to walk the beat in Harlem. They didn't patrol the community in tanks. Simple things. You deal with people, you don't handle people. You handle machines and animals and stuff like that. So those easy definitions could come across the younger minds and young energy. And let us not forget, the world is governed a little bit too much by males. And I believe that the future in any of this, and it's also been represented in the Black community, where a lot of women are in leadership positions, but by default, not because of encouragement. And I think the future is women governing the world. And I just think that it's got to at least be not only 50-50, but 60, 55, 45 in those governing authoritative positions. I mean, because women are human beings. But if you look in the past parts of the United States, it's like, white males have kind of led the narrative for 95% of the time. You're not going to plant anything in that soil that's going to be good for 2030 at all, man. I do believe that, and I don't think you could teach this to high school kids, but we know as adults that, and this is crazy, this is science too, testosterone is a dangerous drug to males that know it could be like damn near as dangerous as cocaine. It's like,
Well, why can't we teach this why can't we teach it to high school kids?
You sure can, because they're getting everything else. If they get
That's what I'm talking about.
If they get a dose of Cardi B and Offset in an argument,
That's my point.
Or Meg Thee Stallion getting her toes shot off, you got to be able to teach at a higher level, because they're getting things coming at them as from a consumption drama standpoint at a high level. So you got to kind of balance it out. Whether you can break the curriculum and be a challenger in a curriculum is another story, because I mean, superintendents are throwing their hands up. That's the point of the class. Right.
That's the point of the class, to disrupt.
Right. And superintendents are throwing their hands up for the last 20 years. Like, I don't know what to do with these Black kids. So that's been needed an overhaul since the 80s and 90s. It could weave, and I'll say this as a last point, Ken, you can weave the culture and social media with things that they can learn, because to say that you're going to stay away from these things and they're going to pick up more of these things outside of school in a faster time has been a detriment to our existence, because it's destroyed the generational line. It's widened the generational gap, and it's a careful mix. It's a careful cocktail, man. It's like, it's really like trying to fix somebody's heart with nitroglycerin. But it could work, but you need scientists to do it. And right now, you sound like a scientist, man. Anyway, so teaching is a science. Teaching Black students is a big science. Teaching young Black men is an incredible science, especially in the shadow of white supremacy. And people that defend people that happen to defend this administration for not having the after funk of white supremacy in their clothes, it's as straight. You need a person that says you are out of your damn mind, and that's what fighting the power is. You nip BS right in the bud. Boom. That's some nonsense right there. And there's a time to at least act. I'm not saying belligerent, but it's a time to act like, you know what, man? In a pool room, you would have got some pool sticks knocked over your head for saying that dumbish. But you can say it in a way that offsets rhetoric that comes with that same amount of racist heat. But you need a forum for that, and it's a process, man. It's a process. It ain't boom, we're gonna come out. It's BEDNOT. You know what that is, right? You better not come to us with that. You better not even start with that. So,
tell Brother Baum I said what's up next time you talk to him.
I sure will. Thank you, man.
All right.
Thanks for being you.
All right, man. Likewise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chuck D, I mean,
I can't stay on here, Ms.
You
Carmen.
can stay on here as long as you want to. I can't tell you how phenomenal you have been. I'm in awe. I came up in your era. I had 3 brothers who claimed to be DJs, and I even got a girl in the midst of 3 brothers. I got a rap name. I was Corn Classy C. So this was just super, because your breadth of knowledge, students just don't realize your breadth of knowledge and how they can use various platforms to affect change, social justice. And you hit on that point when you talked about scholarship. So students don't understand that their education it's a means to an end. It might not be their end, but a means to an end. But you talked about how they can use their scholarship to get them to another end. You talked about design, right? Well, when you think about hip hop, students always originally go to the rap part, right? But hip hop is graffiti. It's messaging. And
let me tell you, Ms. Carmen, hip hop is a term for creativity that's born out of the Black environment. So it might have never ever been called hip hop. It was called other things, but it's the creativity. And because it was so powerful coming out of the Black environment, it's because we were reduced to not able to express ourselves. You couldn't see somebody in the middle of the fields telling the master or the overseer that, you know, would you shut up, or like what was depicted in the great movie that Janelle Monáe was in, Antebellum. You couldn't say that verbally. So we expressed ourselves in code. We expressed ourselves in music. We expressed ourselves in the church. Our expression is our creativity. Hip hop is the term for the expression starting in the 1970s. We've always been hip hoppers. We've always been creative and expressive, but in so many different ways where they couldn't figure it out. Now, once something else comes up out there to be into the mainstream, because it's, number one, attractive to the human spirit, then there's other codes that pop up that people don't know about, that people probably don't like, people that don't follow, but you got to follow the human spirit. And you can see if you're an OG or triple OG like myself, you don't discourage that spirit, you guide it, you counsel it. It's like a kid on training wheels, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So again, we appreciate you so much. And I know the students, everybody was just so hyped and geeked, and not only just the students, faculty, staff, and administrators who really was, you know, this was our era, was so excited. So thank you so much.